reassures Nigerians of certain victory over insecurity.
Nigerians advised to see national security efforts as a shared responsibility.
Federal Executive Council approves airport concession and multiple infrastructure projects nationwide.
And on Good Morning Nigeria, today we shall focus on final preparation for Anambra governorship election.
Right. Anambra is very much in the spotlight as we approach Saturday, right?
Yeah.
November 8th is the date, and INEC says it is fully prepared to begin at 8:30 a.m. I read that again, at 8:30 a.m. prompt. And the anticipation is clearly building as the hours tick down.
I don't get it. Why did you have to say that twice? Like you doubt INEC?
No, I don't doubt, but that they mean business.
Okay. Well, the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Joash Amokweton, has practically been on a statewide inspection marathon, touring offices, checking materials, testing beavers, speaking with officials, all to make sure Saturday's polls start on time, run smoothly, and ends transparently.
Indeed, his message is loud and clear. No excuses. This election must be done right. And it is not just INEC tightening things up. The entire security network has switched into full readiness.
Yes, the police, army, DSS, NSCDC, customs, all sitting together, deploying personnel, mapping out flashpoints, coordinating patrols, and forming a strong, united front.
In fact, a response team is on standby. And of course, the peace accord has been signed.
Oh, yes.
But as INEC keeps reminding everyone, it only works if candidates and supporters actually stick to it.
And that's crucial because, you know, this is a big election. More than 2.8 million registered voters, materials already dispatched, beavers configured, and more than 20,000 officials deployed across 5,718 polling units.
And INEC insists this election must reflect the will of the people. So the stage is set for Saturday. The logistics are primed. The security is tightened. And the world will be watching as they decide whether Governor Chukwuma Soludo returns for another term or a new leader emerges.
All eyes are on Anambra this Saturday. We will be looking at final preparations for this important election, which will set the tone for many others. Welcome to Good Morning Nigeria, the last for the week. I'm excited to have you join us this morning. I'm Henry, John, Victor. How do you feel? It's Friday.
Well, I'm just happy being alive. I'm Victor, so we are live on the network service of the NTA. The newspaper review is just ahead, but first is Musa Abubakar. I like to call him Alhaji Musa, ready for the morning headlines. Good morning, Musa.
Good morning to the both of you. And here's the news. President Bola Tinubu has again reassured that his administration is taking necessary steps to ensure that Nigeria defeat terrorism and other forms of insecurity. President Tinubu gave the assurance during the meeting of the Federal Executive Council.
The task ahead is immense. We are engaging the world diplomatically, and we assure all of you that we will, defeat terrorism in this country.
A high-level stakeholders engagement on regional development and security is underway at the National Counter-Terrorism Center Office of the National Security Advisor in Abuja. The forum aims to promote equitable and sustainable development across Nigeria while enhancing national security. Vice President Kashim Shettima, in a message to the gathering, urged Nigerians to view ongoing efforts to further secure the nation as a shared responsibility.
The unique nature of our security challenge is such that when it happens, there's no discrimination. It happens all across the country, more so in some parts than in others. So that's why there was a need to call for understanding, to call for measured communication.
The Federal Executive Council has approved the concessioning of the Port Harcourt International Airport alongside approval spree for infrastructural projects across the country.
The two started from the beginning of the route. This test section started from the end of the route. And that is from Badagry, which is in Lagos State, going to Ogun, and from Ogun to the border between Ogun and Oyo State. And the total kilometer is 162.97 kilometers. And it's awarded for 6 lanes and for use of reinforced concrete pavement.
Nigeria's Vice President Kashim Shettima has charged world leaders to move beyond pledging to performance and from dialogue to taking reasonable action in tackling climate change and its attendant natural disasters that have claimed innocent lives and rendered many homeless across the globe. He stated this during the Leaders Climate Summit at the ongoing 30th Conference of the Parties in Belém, Brazil.
To preserve what sustains us. This is why we are investing in climate-smart agriculture, livestock transformation, and sustainable land use practices that reduce conflict over resources and enhance food security.
The Nigerian Senate has tasked President Bola Tinubu's appointees to serve with diligence and accountability, emphasizing the importance of value addition in their roles. This comes as the Senate screens and confirms the latest ministerial appointee, Dr. Kingsley Tochukwu Ude, SAN.
He appears to be a fit and proper person, highly educated and very cerebral, to work as a minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, add value to the Federal Cabinet to ensure that Nigeria realize the hope, the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President.
Senate is taking a critical look at aviation safety in Nigeria following the recent Airpeace runway overrun at the Port Harcourt International Airport. The legislative intervention took off with an investigative hearing on the incident as part of efforts to prevent a repeat of such accident and to strengthen public confidence in air travel.
That aviation safety demands constant vigilance.
The Senate now decide that we should take it up, find out, make a correction, guide the airline, and then where it is necessary, we amend the law to suit the yearning of Nigeria.
Ahead of the governorship polls in Anambra State, INEC has commenced the distribution of sensitive materials to the 21 local government areas of the state.
We will pack the beavers, which have charged and packed it, we will pack in the trucks to the 21 local governments. They will come here, we open the results, we open the ballot papers. We've not opened them, we just brought it from CBN. I came with my management team yesterday to see them physically because we were told it came the day before yesterday. We want to be sure that if we come this morning, there will be no stories.
And those are the highlights of the news at this time. Get More Than Nigeria continues after the break.
The Renewed Hope Initiative RHI presents the RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow. This national competition is in 3 categories. The household category is a tree planting competition amongst 11 frontline states in northern Nigeria. Each participating household in Adamawa, Borno, Bauchi, Gombe, Jigawa, Kano, Katsina, Kebbi, Sokoto, Yobe, and Zamfara states will plant a minimum of 1 tree to qualify, with a video evidence of before and after the tree planting exercise. 20 million naira will be awarded to the best household. Submission deadline is 20th December 2026. Community category will see local governments, local communities, schools, and NGOs reclaim and transform degraded or abandoned areas such as dump sites, landfills, parks, and their likes into green, vibrant gardens, parks, and eco-friendly spaces. 50 million naira would be awarded to the overall best community group. Deadline for submission is 15th July 2026. States category will have all states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, excluding Enugu State, have a chance to address the growing threats to environmental sustainability and cleanliness. States will be judged based on the number of trees planted on major roads and inner streets and how clean they are. 100 million naira will be awarded to the best performing state. Already, Enugu State has 100 million naira for being RHI's model green state due to its greenery and cleanliness. Video evidence must be submitted by participating states on or before 20th December 2026. All entries must be directed to RHI Office, State House, Abuja, or email rhi.greenchallenge@statehouse.gov.ng. RHI Green Nigeria Challenge. Go green today for a greener tomorrow.
Trust Nivea Perfect and Radiant Body Lotion to reveal your skin's natural radiance. The same unique formula enriched with berry extracts, even tone complex, and UV filters to reduce dark spots and even out your skin tone. For radiant and even tone skin, say hello again to Nivea Perfect and Radiant Body Lotion. Try the full Nivea Perfect and Radiant range to unlock your most radiant self.
Milo 3-in-1 Milky and Creamy is truly milky and contains calcium. So, no need to add milk for that rich, creamy cup, which helps to nourish your kids.
And the National Productivity Order of Merit Award goes to...
The only tomato paste manufacturer to win the National Productivity Order of Merit Award by the Federal Government of Nigeria, endorsed by the Association of Private Medical Practitioners of Nigeria. This is an evidence of 100% natural goodness. Eat healthy to live longer. Buy now and enjoy up to 20% discount.
Tomato paste, the taste of Nigeria.
Let's go, darling.
Say what?
I like what I see. Can't get enough of me. I feel like a darling. I feel like a darling.
Darling Braids. Wear the latest styles that make you feel like a darling.
Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need am.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much.
Na money point oh.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer.
Na money point oga. Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land as Sure Banker. Progress na small wind where they carry person go far.
No worry, yourself go make am. Mo go buy ball.
Victor, even you they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money point, made for your progress.
Thank you for being there. Up next on the program is the newspaper review.
All right, Chukudi Okoli Ogbaja is here with us this Friday. Chukudi, good to see you.
How are you, dearie? I'm happy to be here as well. It's Friday.
Yeah.
I need to rest.
Yes.
I'm not creaking in the wrong places, but I think I need to rest.
You're sounding like tomorrow you don't have one session somewhere.
What session are you talking about?
Don't mind him.
Anyways, let's
He thinks I'm looking for money with the feet, the hands, the head, everywhere.
Let's get into the papers quickly. We'll begin with the Nigerian pilot.
Okay. Let's begin. And there's this screaming headline in red. Addiction. Senate move to ban sachet alcoholic drinks from December this year. Directs NAFDAC, other relevant regulatory bodies to strictly enforce ban. Resolves that no extension should be granted beyond current moratorium next month. Regrets that availability of cheap alcohol fuels social vices, leads young generation to self-destruction. Interesting. And above that, which is just below the nameplate, Anambra Guba, INEC begins distribution of sensitive materials, is on page 6. The FG reveals plan to stock up strategic food reserves. Below, just down the page of the Nigerian pilot, de-risk leadership contribution to knowledge exceptional. That's according to Shatima, Mutfwang, and Unilag. And that story is on page 9. Of course, it comes with a picture story. And police arrest 4 persons in Kwara over killing of chief imam. EU deploys 687 observers ahead of Saturday's governorship election in Anambra. Reps committee to probe security intervention funds assures of transparency, accountability. This one in health reads Lassa fever claims 176 lives across 21 states. And no coalition will save Governor Adeleke from defeat in 2026, Osun APC boasts. And finally, from the Nigerian pilot, court fixes November 11 to rule on Sule Lamido's suit to stop PDP convention. You get details of that on page 5. And the business NG is next. Naira strengthens to 1,436 to $1 as forex pressures subside. Reserves hit $43.3 billion. That's on page 2. Below the nameplate, only 22 firms dominate NGX, control 78% of market value. Is that good? Is that bad? Well, find out from the business NG. And details continue on page 2. And finally, from here, Abga's 20-year reign faces test in tomorrow's Anambra poll. Yeri.
All right, so let's look at the leadership now. Leadership leads with Nigeria initiates diplomatic talks with U.S. following Trump's threat. The rider were responding to genuine concerns raised. That's according to the minister. Page 4, you want to find out the minister in particular. A copy of the leadership will do you good. Away from that, this interesting headline here says, People's Democratic Party, that's the kicker, devil using members, says Damagum. Interesting. That's on page 23 of the leadership this morning. Looking below the picture story, we have Anambra poll, 55,000 security personnel deployed. INEC distributes sensitive materials. And federal government secures $396 million for internally displaced persons Sokoto Health Project. Details on page 20 of the leadership. And the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, is talking right here. He says Nigeria loses $56 billion annually to malnutrition. Details on page 18. And just beside the masthead this morning, we have controversy as FIFA appoints South African referees for Nigeria-Gabon World Cup playoff. That's on page 29. And that's a bit on sports this morning. Chukudi.
Damagu says the devil is using
members.
Oh, devil don't suffer. It's okay, no problem. He actually says that those who are doing what they are doing to PDP should know that there is karma. Action and reaction. What you push in is what you get later. You know? Mm-hmm. I can only say we wish them luck.
And we hope the devil gets out.
But devil don't suffer. Devil. One man from my village, they call him Deborah. It's okay.
Blame it on the devil.
Yeah, blame it on the devil. Mbadinuju Ngige Obi Obiano Soludo or Abga. Is it going to remain like that after Saturday? That's tomorrow. I think that election is one that might attract more competition. I think so. Let's not go naming parties that are. Yeah, there's I don't want to name a particular party, but some people tend to be thinking that a particular party is having some kind of ascendancy over other parties towards 2027. Who knows whether that is going to play out in Anambra State? We live to see. But I like the preparation by INEC. Sensitive materials are not yet deployed there, but the ones that can go in have already gone in. We don't want to hear excuses. It's actually the INEC side I would like to dwell on more. INEC will tell you we're ready for this, we're ready for that. On election day, you still wonder why there are still some hitches. And look, we're talking about one state. So if anybody is thinking that this is a litmus test for 2027 happenings, I would say think again. Because you will be talking about 36 states and Abuja then, you know. So Anambra is not a litmus test. It is one election that must work because it is handleable. It is within the size of a fist. You can hold it and implement it. So let's execute all the things we need to execute and show that we indeed can do things on our own and do them well.
All right, and this one's screaming addiction here. Senate moves to ban sachet alcoholic drinks from December this year.
I hope you don't take it.
I think NAFDAC had been on this. That's why it came to me as a bit of a surprise. Now Senate is giving it the backing that it needs.
You know, I am old school. I went to Sunday school. That affects the way I think. This locking the stable door when the horse has bolted does not quite. I'm more interested in raising youths that actually have good morals. There are some of us who would not drink. Actually, there are some of us who, when they take 2 bottles of beer, will start singing on the highway. You know. So the point is, let us try as much as we can to bring up people who were raised in a rich environment. I'm not talking about cash. I'm talking about an environment that inserts good morals in people. That is the one that lasts longest. Yes, NAFDAC can do whatever they want to do and all, the NDLA will join and all, but the real thing is self-restraint. And again, I grew up at a time when the Surgeon General would warn that smoking is dangerous to health. Why don't we have something like that for alcohol? I don't even hear them say it for smoking anymore.
I think it's usually written on the packet.
Oh, well, but the electronic also echoed it
when
in
they
those
used
days.
to advertise.
No, they don't advertise.
Okay, that's the point. They don't advertise. You caught me there. or rather the tobacco people caught me there. So whatever happens, I think we should learn to raise youths that know that certain things are harmful to them. Yesterday I was saying that in my time, Igbo was smoking in the bush. Now bush, then they hide goat smoker. Even then, the smell will still, float towards you because that thing bad. But these days, the man walking ahead of you could actually be smoking Igbo. There was a place I went to close to Abattoir. I saw people selling things in small bottles. Ogaide. Are you telling me that the police do not know that such a place exists? We have to become sincere people so that our lives will get better. But the Senate move is okay. Yes. If it's too easy to get, it also becomes an easy vice. So that's what they're thinking is. But we should become more fundamental in fighting vices. Raise good children.
Yeah,
well said.
There's this story about...
Two stories I missed on the Business NG. I just saw them.
What
and
did
two
you
good
miss?
stories, the kind of stories you like, actually.
How would you know stories I like?
I know you. Filling stations cut petrol prices as landing cost drops. It's on page 2, that's one. And Emirates to resume Nigeria flights after 2-year suspension, also on page 2.
Okay, let's start with the Emirates thing. That is good for us. Movement is something that sustains commerce, sustains good livelihood for those who can afford it.
And then competition.
So I like competition
Increased
as well. It's
competition,
enhanced. And that's going to affect airfares. If you know that Mr. B offers what you offer as Mr. A, you don't begin to think like a monopolist, Having said that, I like the way you said stories I would like, because I've always been prophetic about fuel here. Hardly would fuel go beyond 1,000 in Nigeria again. Market forces have kicked in indeed. I'm surprised that the ones that are affiliated to Dangote that were doing 850 something, 59, they're all doing 950 now, almost everybody. But even that cannot be sustained. After some time, you'll see a drop. I'm looking for a situation where in 2026, we talk about 750. That's where my mind yearns towards.
All right, Prophet Chukwudi. I hope that...
I know how you will say I don't look like one.
I hope it comes to pass.
The packaging does not matter.
Even size does not.
What has size got to do with it? Please give me what you want.
Anyways, this malnutrition, Nigeria loses $56 billion annually to malnutrition. That's according to the Vice President. And, looking at what happens afterwards when children are malnourished, health concerns, losing children, to diseases and all of that.
The good thing is that
how it affects
food
the nation.
Prices are dropping. In fact, I still ask Nigerian reporters, go and find out whether importation is responsible for, because it's so drastic. I mean, it's so sharp, the drop in prices of foodstuff. Apart from tomato now, groundnut oil, you find out that you can buy all these other ones so easily. Oh, but it's a bit expensive though. They say that's what you should plant now, not maize and sweet potato. That's what brings money. So the good thing is that food prices are dropping, so the malnutrition you're talking about is going to also take a dent, if it's not a hammer blow to take it down. At least we're moving somewhere. Actually, I saw in one of the papers where government is saying that the fact that food prices are dropping is a sign that their policies are working, their agricultural policies are working. I am still saying, could importation be happening somewhere? You need to find out.
All right. Many thanks, Chukudi. The producer says it's time to go. Have a swell weekend, and we hope to see you on Monday. We'll take a break now. When we come back, we'll get into our conversation for today. Of course, we're talking about the Anambra election, which happens in a few hours. Stay with us.
From the Atlantic across the savannah to the Sahara, we rise, a land of the free, we know they tire. We dream great, our spirit is undying.
Resilient, rooted like palm tree, we swear in color.
I am the real Nigerian. Brought to you by the National Orientation Agency, NOA.
For an exclusive 3x skin effect, try Nivea Men Deep powered by Black Carbon. For 48-hour deep moisture, a fresh skin feel, and a long-lasting masculine fragrance. Make an impact with Nivea Men Deep Impact Body Lotion. Try Nivea Men Deep Roll-On for 72-hour antibacterial sweat protection.
Little body, big moves. Little brain, big learning. Your little child is eager to do big things. Every sachet comes with the nutrients they need every day. Made from natural grains, contains protein and fortified with iron to support their physical growth, learning, and development. So you can fully enjoy your little one's big moments of growth.
Lagos, Port Harcourt, Abuja. The city is moving. New voices, heavy drip, all heart. From the streets to the stage, this is the next Afrobeat star.
Yo! What are we here for? Let's Afrobeat star! Let's get nasty!
And the talents from all over showed up to own the room. But they're not alone.
Spiritual. Gospel.
All chasing a slot to face the judges. Puffy T, SARS, Andre Vibes, P Pride. Catch next Afrobeat star on
Just to watch a Good Morning Nigeria live on the network service of the NTA. And as you saw in that last jingle that played, we are covering all the moments of Anambra election beginning from this evening. And this morning, we're counting down, of course, to the election, which is taking place tomorrow. NTA got you covered as far as the election coverage is concerned. And so we have our guests seated already, just to project what's likely going to happen tomorrow in Anambra State. But let's take this background report put together by Kene Ndulwe before we get into the conversation. Stay with us.
The stage is set and the countdown is on. In about 24 hours, the people of Anambra State will head to the polls. Saturday, November 8th, the political fate of the state will hang in the balance as voters decide whether to give Governor Chukwuma Soludo another term or hand the leadership to a new person. With 16 contenders in the race for the top seat, the excitement and tension across the state are palpable. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has confirmed that 2,802,790 registered voters are eligible to cast their ballots across 5,718 polling units in 21 local government areas. Already, INEC has commenced distribution of sensitive materials to the 21 local government areas of the state in preparation for the polls. INEC Chairman Joash Amopito, during an engagement with stakeholders, emphasized the Commission's commitment to a credible and peaceful election, warning against vote buying and electoral violence. He says the Commission is fully ready for the election and polls will open at 8:30 a.m. prompt. However, security had been a major concern in the build-up to the election, but Inspector General of Police Kayode Egbetoku had made assurances that security is guaranteed and have confirmed deployment of 50,000 joint security personnel across the state. This robust security presence aims to maintain order and curb any form of violence or voter intimidation. As dawn breaks on Saturday, Anambra will once again take center stage and the world will be watching to see how its people shape the next chapter of their democratic story. Today on Good Morning Nigeria, guests already seated will be speaking on issues around preparations for Anambra governorship election.
All right, many thanks, Ekene Ndulue, for that background report, which is set to launch us into the conversation proper. But before then, let me introduce our guests in the studio, and I begin with Professor Jibrin Jibo Ibrahim, who is a Senior Fellow, CDD West Africa. A pleasure to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
All right, let me also welcome, also here in the studio, former Director, Voter Education and Publicity of INEC, Nick Dazang. Thank you very much for joining us. Retired but not tired.
Thank you for having me.
All right, also joining us for the conversation, but not right here in the studio, via Zoom from Oka, is Cynthia Umbamalu, Director, Programs, Siaga Africa. Cynthia, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you, and good morning, Nigeria.
Also joining us for the conversation all the way from Oka is the Deputy Director, Voter Education, Mrs. Paula Inwejora. Many thanks, Madam, for being our guest this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, let's begin this conversation. Perhaps I start from Oka. Let me ask Madam Paula what the preparation is like at the moment and what's happening in Oka as we speak.
Thank you very much. Your reporter has done a good job in reporting what's been going on. The reports we saw before the program started, that was really a good one. You know, in the words of our national chairman, Professor Joash Amobiton, SAN, he said that our responsibility as a commission is to do what? Our responsibility is towards the people of this nation to give them a fair election, credible, and a reflective election that is reflective of the will of the Anambra people. And prior to this time, Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
You can hear me?
Go ahead. Go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. I heard you. Okay. And so from the 2nd of this month, he has been with a high delegation of his national commissioners and with the rec and directors. They came to visit Oka, visit Anambra, and do the last minute assessment of readiness. And I can tell you in his own very words, we're ready. Even in his press briefing yesterday, we're ready. INEC is ready, and we're excited at what is going on. Right now, the 13 activities in our timeline, all has been ticked and checked out. Is remaining just one activity now, which is the election proper. As of yesterday, Thursday the 4th, the campaign ended midnight of yesterday, Thursday the 6th. And today, 7th, from 12 noon, the RAC centers will be activated. And as during the stakeholders, which held on the 4th, the National Commissioner in charge of Anambra State, Dr. Ken Okago, he has spoken extensively on our preparedness. And with the coming of our national chairman, you know, everything has been laid out there. And what is it? We have completed 12 out of the activities. Trainings have been completed. Ad hoc trainings have been completed. sports, and the dispatch of the non-sensitive materials. They have been arranged, dispatched to the local government. As I speak to you now, they've been arranged, dispatched to the local government. And by 12 noon today, like I said, the RAC centers, registration areas centers will be activated. That is where the ad hoc staff and all the sensitive materials and non-sensitive, they will stay overnight there. And there will be refresher courses for all the ad hoc staff. It may interest you to know that whilst they are there, that still doing refresher course, the security too is with them, and mock accreditation has been done to assess the functionality of our beavers and IRES. The system is ready, and the professionals that are in charge of these systems have been deployed. Our next staff, they are all here. The RAC techs, they are all here, ready for the work, ready for our work. And so the commission is ready, we are ready, and like you know, the beavers, about 6,879 beavers have been configured for the polling units, 578 polling units. It's ready to function. And we have a backup of 970. Within the 578, we have 183 for split units and 978 backup devices for these beavers. Then, like I said earlier, mock accreditation has been done, and the final deployment of men and material is already done. Finally, of the logistics. On the 4th, when he was addressing the staff, the representatives of the National Union of Road Transport Workers, the agencies that were going to be used, he was there, the commissioner himself, Dr. Ukago, our national chairman, and all the 8 high-powered honorable commissioners that came on this trip. They were there on the table working it out. And so 3,000 vehicles are already deployed to the units. 6,520 motorcycles and 83 boats have been hired for this exercise. INEC is ready, and that will call. They are all posted across the 517 polls. Like I said, polling units. Like I said, today by 12, the registration area centers will be open, where the ad hoc staff will meet with their supervisors. And it will interest you to know that 4 honorable commissioners with 10 regs have been deployed, and they're on ground right now, to oversee what is going on. Yesterday, the non-sensitive materials have been received, and under the watchful eyes of parties, political parties, or relevant stakeholders, they were dispatched. And so every local government has gotten theirs, and they are all going to move to the RAC centers. And our Honorable National Commissioner, Professor Joash Amabitan's SAN, has told the staff there are no lapses. He doesn't want to hear it, and he's determined. He doesn't want to, because everything is set for them. Everything is set there. So when in the RAC center, he told them and reaffirmed, and he's firm about it. He has told them there will be consequences for lateness and reward for making it better, to be proactive about this, because we don't want to hear stories. We don't want to hear that some RACs are not open. 8:30, the police polling units open. So they depart from the RAC once it's 6 a.m., 7 a.m., they are there at the polling unit to open the poll for registrants to come in at 8:30, when the polls will open and people will go about their civic duties. So, like I said, the non-sensitive and sensitive materials are all done with. And then they've been painstakingly, tirelessly, since November last year, 2024, the commission under Dr. Ukego Kane, the resident electoral commissioner, Dr. Mrs. Elizabeth Agu, the staff and the commission, they've been working painstakingly, tirelessly to bring us to this point. 13 timeline, 12 have they done, waiting for tomorrow when the final of this program will be done. And excitingly, I will announce to you, you must have seen it, that 98.8% of the voters card, because of the extension and assurance by the national chairman that there will be security, and that INEC will be on ground to do their bid and to give them a fair, free, credible election massively because of this extension of the picking of the voters card. The registration, the registrants in this town in Oka is 2,802,790 90 registrants. But it will interest you to know that almost 2 million registrants have picked up the number has increased to 2,779,137 registrants. Why? Because of the assurance INEC has given them and the assurance INEC has given them and the readiness of INEC and the security readiness. So we are ready. We are ready. And we're ready, but there's another information. There are 2 polling units that will not be activated in Nnewi North. Nnewi North, there are 2 polling units because there are 0 registrants. Okay. 0 registrants there. And so these 2 units will not be activated. So that's 5,720 polling units. What will take place is polling units of 5,718 will be activated.
All right, many thanks, Madam Paula, for that detailed explanation of the preparation of INEC towards Saturday's election. You did say that INEC is ready. You said it so many times, within the few minutes you spoke. And this is not the first time we're hearing that INEC is ready before an election. And we know, of course, some of the issues that play out. You took the question right out of my mouth when you said 2 polling units will not be having an election. I was just about to ask you that because I know in previous elections, some polling units did not actually, conduct an election. But speak to us about those that you have contracted, for logistics purpose, transportation of materials on election day, the transporters you have talked about. These are not INEC staff. In the past, INEC, there have been issues of, we were not paid, we didn't get this, that's why materials didn't move on time and all of that. What is in your agreement with the transporters who are expected to move your men and materials to polling units tomorrow? Have they been paid, to some point? Have they been told that if they fail, something is going to happen, or there'll be, repercussions for, not meeting up with the deadline that you have set, which is 8:30? We want to know all of that because, Nigerians are tired of hearing that, it is those who have been contracted that failed INEC.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for that. I was in that meeting when the national commissioner, the national chairman, and the national commissioner in charge of Anambra State, and all the 8 national commissioners called out the men. There is a memorandum. There is an agreement. There is a signing. They met with all the electoral officers with the numbers of vehicles they will supply. And our chairman, our new chairman, is a lawyer, is a son. So he makes it. He made it clear to them that there will be fallout with us and them if they don't deliver. And of course, they are paid. Part of the money will be paid to them. And so they even gave us the names of the vehicle, the numbers of the vehicles that they are going to bring. So they know there is an agreement. An
agreement. Okay, fantastic, great. Many thanks, Madam Paula. Let's get to Cynthia, who is with you in Awka too, but of course in a different location at this time. Cynthia, I would like you to tell us what you can see in Anambra or where you are, you have, your members, or, if you like, your colleagues spread across the different parts of Anambra State. Tell us what the situation is at this time. Does it look like Anambra is ready for an election tomorrow? Or you feel that there's tension? Or you think, we're just likely going to see people moving about their business tomorrow and not election proper?
Thank you, and good morning to Madam Paula. It was nice listening to her. I think honestly, it's not really a tense atmosphere. In fact, if you were here days ago, you wouldn't even know there would be elections. If you go around to some of the communities, every business is going on as usual. You don't have as much political tension that you would see ordinarily in some state governorship elections. But I mean that could mean several different things also. But maybe I would look at it from different perspectives. One, from the part of the Electoral Commission, which is the main elections management bodies, and then I'll also look at citizens, the level of enthusiasm that we've seen in the field as we've gone around to different local governments. Yesterday we were at the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, to observe the deployment of materials, and I would say that from what we saw yesterday, NEC officials, party agents, the leadership of the commission, observers, media were all present there to observe the process. And at least as at yesterday, materials were put together, catalogued, and also movement to local governments began, because the movement it goes to local government before delivery to racks by today, and then so that tomorrow mornings they will go to the polling unit, the racks at the registration area centers. And so today we'll be going out to the local government to also observe deployments to racks to see how that is going. One way to ascertain if elections will commence on time is if materials get to their racks by the eve of election. So we'll be observing that. So I would say from the commissions, from what we observed yesterday, there is some level of preparation already for the elections. Things seem to look good at this point, but if you work on elections, until elections day, you can't really say, you can't really speak to how well the preparations work. But for now, we can see the commission's commitment to ensure that sensitive and non-sensitive materials get to their locations in time and ready for deployment on elections morning. However, I do believe that for us, the bigger question when you talk about the atmosphere in the state, that there seems to be very little voter enthusiasm for these elections. You talk to some people in some local government, for some of them they'll tell you, oh, they don't want to vote, and you ask them why, they'll tell you, oh, they already know what the outcome would be, so why vote? There are those that still supposedly have not healed from the last elections where they felt their votes did not count. And so for them, they don't think the system would work for them. You also have younger people who are questioning the whole idea of why do we even need to go for elections? Is the same governance has not delivered. They still have issues in some communities where they don't have good road networks, where they still struggle with things like unemployment and major challenges in the state. And so can you hear me? Yeah. Yes. And so there is that side. And I think these are factors contributing to the level of, to the low voter enthusiasm that you would see. We did some voter outreach in some of the markets and all. It's still the same question, still the same conversation. But you have a category of voters who will tell you, I will still come out to vote regardless. And I think for us, this last day, this eve of the elections, is to push out as much voter education. And for anyone in Anambra listening, this is actually a passionate call that democracy works when the people engage, and democracy is about the people. So elections is one way to choose our leaders, or the only way at this moment to choose our leaders. And so voters, as long as you've collected your permanent voters card, come out and vote in this process. But I think for me, the bigger question is on the Electoral Commission and the security agencies. And I say this because at Yaga Africa, we identified 3 major tests for these elections, which we believe would be a good way to inspire confidence in subsequent elections. Because the reason we have a decline in trust is because there have been faults and challenges in the processes that have affected the level of confidence in the electoral process. And for us, the key one is efficiency test. And I'm glad when I listen to Madam Paula talk about the planning going on for logistics management. For us, efficiency test is about INEC's preparedness and readiness to ensure effective logistics management, that commencement of polls will be in due time. In 3 previous elections, what we've seen is a pattern of late opening of polls in Anambra. In fact, in the general elections also, you also see that Anambra is one of the states that records low opening of polls. We've had consistently, as at 7:30 a.m. in the last elections, barely 70% of polling units were open. Why we track opening at 7:30 is because that is how you will know if voting will begin at 8:30. Because normally materials and personnel are meant to arrive on time, they clean up, and then they start the setup process. Setup happens, and then by 8:30, accreditation and voting ought to commence. And so if our data from 3 previous elections have shown that consistently we've had between 17%, less than 20% opening of polls at 7:30. And then by the time you look further, in fact, at the last elections, by 10:30 a.m., which is 2 hours after voting must have commenced, only about 50% of polling units had commenced the process by 10:30 a.m. And locations like Anambra South Senatorial District, only 28% of the polling units had commenced the process by 10:30 a.m. And as late as 12 noon, we still had over 20% of polling units yet to commence the process. This is the last 2021 governorship elections. And so for us, efficiency test is key because we need to see a different story for these elections. And that includes, 1, early opening of polls and early commencement of the process across board. I do believe that would inspire confidence with respect to INEC's readiness and preparedness for these elections. And that would tell a different story for our elections. We can't keep having these perennial challenges of late commencement of polls. And the other part of that is that every polling unit should be properly served with the materials that they need. I think it's important that we understand that if some polling units start and voters are waiting and the materials are not complete, it creates tension and also affects how citizens trust the process. We've seen this in previous elections, yes. So we're also hoping that this time around the story will be different, that every polling unit, aside the 2 with 0 voters, every 5,718 polling units has the materials and personnel in time, and that materials are sufficient and adequately provided for. I'd also believe that INEC had said that this time around we would have sign language interpreters. That is a first. And I think it's commendable because I also know they've been doing this in partnership with South Africa. And we want to see that these sign language interpreters are actually present. We would want to see that because that is disability inclusion in its finest form. But also in addition to that, the assistive materials like the Braille ballot guide, the magnifying glasses that is provided for persons with visual impairment or persons with albinism, that they are available so that these voters can also cast their vote without stress. The second test for us is the integrity test. And integrity is key because every election, the legitimacy of outcomes and how citizens accept the process is based on if they believe that the process was actually one that met the integrity test or was credible and transparent. And for us, the key issue here is the deployment and usage of the bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS, and the INEX Result Viewing Portal, IREV. That is because for the Electoral Act has made the BVAS mandatory, and so we cannot have polling units where the BVAS is not used. And with INEC has consistently deployed to every polling unit, BVAS to every polling unit. So we've seen this, there's a pattern to that. But the challenge, sometimes is the usage. And so I'm glad we have deployment and we have BVAS in reserve, but INEC must insist on their personnel deployed in the field, regardless of what community people say. Some people will say, oh, the community said we don't want BVAS, so we did not use that. We saw we had some of those allegations in the last by-elections. Is to insist that the BVAS is used throughout the process at every polling unit and the BVAS functions optimally. That for us is key because the electorate has said if the BVAS is not used, the result for that polling unit would be cancelled. And so it's to create that awareness to all personnel that at the setup, this announcement is made on the importance of the BVAS, and voters are informed that if this is not used, your vote is wasted because it's not supposed to be collated. And so that is one big issue for us, that the BVAS is used efficiently. But the second part is that the results are uploaded on the result viewing portal. The BVAS ordinarily is meant to be used to take the picture of the result sheet from EC8A at the polling unit and upload it on the result viewing portal. And we believe that if this is done, this is one way to enhance transparency in the process. While we push for electoral reform for compulsory electronic transmission of results, we believe that this system as it is now can also help voters follow the result from polling unit to the final declaration. And results at the polling are usually in their purest form, because most times voters are present to count and observe the process. Media and party agents and observers most times are more present at the polling unit than at the collation centers. And so this is key for us. And I think the third and the last test for us is the impartiality test. For us, it's very important. And I think for a lot of Nigerians, for voters in Anambra, they want to see an INEC whose personnel at every level are non-partisan, they are impartial and professional. But on the bigger hand, it is security agencies, because it's not just about INEC. We want a security agency or a security architecture for this election that is truly professional and impartial in their deployment. How they deploy to different senatorial districts and different polling units is important. We do not want a deployment that is intended to create fear or cause intimidation to opposition, for instance. We want a deployment that is seen to be working for the safety and security of all parties, of all voters, and all stakeholders in the elections. This also includes at the level of coalition. If you remember Edo, one thing we had seen was how even the security became partisan in how they deployed in for the coalition and how they interfered with the coalition process. We do believe that security's role is to provide security and ensure the process is secured, not to interfere with the process or interfere with the work of the Electoral Commission. This includes our deployment. In the morning, we've had instances. Can you hear me?
Cynthia, thank you very much. I wanted you to land on your third point, and which you have done. We'll get back to you in the course of this conversation. We'll just take that on board and be able to interact with those of them here in the studio. Those are guests here in the studio. Let me get to Prof very quickly. Now, from your observation, you've listened to those in Oka, those on ground in Oka, Cynthia and Madam Paula. How significant is the Anambra election, taking into account the timing, the new national chairman, whose first test this is, among other things? How significant is this for the state and for the country?
I think it's a very significant election. Anambra historically was the one that created this off-season election cycles that's now become generalized in the country. And I think the fact that you have a new INEC chairman that's coming with a lot of enthusiasm and determination, for me, it's a very good sign, because you do need enthusiasm and determination to make elections. Elections in this country are not easy at all, because all sorts of problems arise that may not be directly under the control of the electoral body itself. I think it's an important election also because of what's happening in the Nigerian party system. There are lots of changes happening. There's a lot of movement from different parties to the ruling party. And in Anambra, you have a very large number of contestants. And the key contestants all have a belief that this is an opportunity for them to get into power. So I think in that sense, it's a very important election in terms of Nigeria's larger political dynamics that's going on. And people will want to see that these elections have credibility and are done in such a way as to reassure people that the concentration of politicians in one party does not mean other parties are excluded from a level playing ground in terms of the race itself. So that's another important issue. I think at the end of the day, the question of logistics will be very important. All our elections have been characterized by logistical challenges. A a lot of people have been asking, why is it that in all countries in the world they are able to improve significantly on logistics and we are not able to do that? When will that code be cracked so that we can solve problems that emerge? So all eyes will be on Anambra. Are they going to be able to address that issue? I feel the question of security is also extremely important. Cynthia has spoken about that, the importance of their neutrality in the conduct of the elections. I must say that over the past few years, we have seen significant improvement in terms of the non-partisanship of security agencies, and the hope is that that improvement will be sustained and improved over the elections. I think so far the indicators we are seeing are quite positive, and I believe this election will show that we are capable of improving our systems.
Prof, you say the indicators are positive, but there's a CDD report that was released, before this election that talked about some issues, that raised some, questions about the Anambra election. Could you share that with us?
Well, the CDD report draws attention to certain key issues. One key issue is the use of money. One of the significant problems we have had in our electoral culture and the ecology of elections is the question of selling and buying votes. And for us in CDD, we believe very strongly that if you buy or sell votes, you make nonsense of the elections, because the elections are a statement by citizens that these are the people I want to exercise power in this state, in this community. And if that is falsified through a commercialization process, then it defeats the whole purpose of the elections. The second issue we identified in the CDD report is the role of social media and the way in which a lot of possible conflict generation themes are emerging in terms of the campaigns and what's being said. This is a state that we know have certain divides, the ethnic divide, the religious divide and all that. And it's important that we do not push our divides to create a significant problem. The third issue identified is that of sports where there is a tradition of violence and where there are concerns that thuggery and violence will come in to mar the elections. And these are issues of concern for us. The fourth issue we raised, which has already been raised, is that of the security agencies and their neutrality. So these are issues of concerns. There is, of course, the other political issues, the fact that you have an incumbent governor who is not from the ruling party. How will that play out in the current context of Nigerian politics? So these are some of the key issues we identified. But I think our assessment is that on the whole, the preparations that have been done, the assurances that have been given, all point to a situation in which our concerns may be assuaged.
All right, thank you very much, Prof. Let me get to Nick Dazang. Thank you very much for your patience. We have saved the best for the last because you are a former insider. If you were still in service, you'd probably be in Anambra. And I'm asking, having heard from the INEC official in Oka, from Cynthia, who is also in Oka, and then from Prof, where do you see gaps? Where do you see lapses based on experience?
Well, let me start by saying that I think comparatively, given what has happened in Anambra State, the last two election cycles, 2021, 2017, comparatively, I think we have cause to be optimistic in terms of security. Recall that in 2017, IPOP particularly ran certain hate campaigns. It mobilized people on a door-to-door basis to dissuade voters from coming out to vote. And then in 2021, there was an escalation. And by May in 2021, INEC offices in Enugu, Anambra, and Imo were attacked. In fact, the INEC office in Oka was attacked. 50% of the materials meant for the election were burnt. The collation center itself for the election was burnt. 376 sets of generators were burnt. And at one point, even the commission had to seek the intervention of the president outside of the National Security Advisor. And 2 or 3 days to the election, there were rumors that even the chairman of the commission and his aides had been abducted. They had to now snap pictures and upload them on social media to assure people. And because of the chaos, let me say chaos in Anambra, almost all the ad hoc staff that had been trained to conduct the election fled. INEC now had to fall back on a vestige that was courageous to remain on its staff. And there were, of course, logistics challenges. And I can see the same gap, replicating itself, not in terms of security, but in terms of logistics. Because I've always said that it is not enough that INEC has entered an agreement or forged an MOU with the Nigeria Union of Road Transport Workers and NATO. The issue is that there is always no consequences for non-delivery by these transport workers. And their perception of election is not that of a national assignment for which they should bring to bear commitment. So unless there is consequence for not turning up, or turning up with vehicles that are completely decrepit, before the election they will come, they will assemble vehicles, and on election day, they will substitute these vehicles with vehicles that cannot move from area 10 to area 11. And meanwhile, there are polling units that are far-flung. And in the case of Anambra, for example, even though in terms of land mass, it is half of, let's say, Borgu local government, which is 11,000 plus square meters, or Mashegu local government, which is also 11 plus 1,000 square kilometers. Anambra is a mere 4,480 square meters. But 7 of the local governments are riverine. So it's challenging. Thankfully, what the commission has done is to increase the number of super racks to 100. And then you now have just, 41 racks. So all in all, you have 141. Now, the advantage of having super racks is that you have a cluster of racks put together. You bring the staff, they are embedded with the security personnel, INEC personnel, the ad hoc staff, and then they move in the small hours of the morning to the polling units. But the issue is that most of the time, when INEC staff are embedded with the ad hoc staff, and they even train them overnight in preparation, they remind them, about the process. They do refresher training in the course of the night, so that in the small hours of the morning, they now go prepared. Sometimes the security men will not be there to escort the personnel. Sometimes the vehicles that are meant to carry the staff to the polling units are not available. And without the vehicles, without the security men,
they can move. You
cannot move. In fact, the law says that you cannot move to the polling unit without being escorted. So this challenge, these two challenges still remain with the commission. And from my own experience in INEC, the issue has never been with INEC staff. It has never been. In terms of moving from the super racks, from the racks to the polling units, the issue has always been with that of the security personnel conducting parades on election day, or not being ready to move.
But is there a way out? Because INEC will always rely on partners.
Yes.
For security, you will rely on security agencies. For logistics, you will rely on those who bring the vehicles.
The
for
thing is,
many other
the thing
reasons.
is for the partners to behave professionally and with a high sense of responsibility. In 2009, in the same Anambra state, we had a situation where by 10 o'clock in the morning, none of our staff left the wards, for the polling unit, because the police said they had not been paid. Meanwhile, their money had been remitted to them. But the police on the ground, the foot soldiers, said they had not received their payment. And therefore, they cannot escort anyone. And like I said, by law, you cannot move without security provisioning. So the thing to do, and I've had the ANEC chairman who has just parachuted and has hit the ground running, threatening measures. And I read it and I was amused, because perhaps because he does not know all these complexities and nuances. He can be excused. But the real issue is not, for me, ANEC staff, but these service providers and the security agencies. And that is at the level of even leaving the racks. And then, of course, like what we have seen, especially in Edo, at the collation level, the security people comporting themselves professionally, not inserting themselves into the process and trying to determine the winner at the end of the day. So these are issues that need to be addressed, and they need, all sorts of savvy diplomacy, and in the case of the service providers, let me say coercion. There should be consequences for someone who is paid to do something and he fails to do it.
So who should lead the charge?
ANEC should. The buck stops on ANEC's table. I've always said it. The buck stops on ANEC's table. You must summon the will to do the right thing.
All right, many thanks, Mr. Dazang. Just to let our viewers know that they can send in their comments or questions. The number is on the screen. I'd like to get back to Prof now, because I understand that you would be leaving us shortly. So, let's stay with you for the few minutes that you'll be with us. A lot of issues have been raised, but another issue with Anambra election has been voter apathy in the past elections. In the last election, just about 10% of the registered voters actually came out to vote, and that's very low. Speak to us about that. Do you think that we're going to see something different play out tomorrow? Has anything changed, really, that would make people... Cynthia mentioned it when she was speaking. She was like, residents are not really enthusiastic about the election. Do you think that we're going to see something different on election day? And how can we deal with this issue of voter apathy?
Voter apathy is a very serious problem. It's been growing over the years, and voter apathy is an indication of citizens' concerns with the integrity of elections. I think there are certain elements in our electoral practices that seriously concern voters. And at the end, it's a very simple question that voters ask: will my vote count? If a voter believes their vote will not count, then they are not motivated to go out and vote. It doesn't mean that if the voter believes their vote won't count, that the voter is right. Maybe there is a false assumption that that vote won't count. But that belief of the voter, that what I put in the voting box would be counted and will determine outcomes is extremely important. And I think this is where somehow our own voter education and civic education has not been as effective as it could be. But voters are also intelligent people. If they, in their numbers, start saying or start believing that their votes wouldn't count, it must be that they have seen certain things happen in certain elections that convince them that the integrity of the process is questionable. I feel correcting this issue, it's a medium-term strategy is necessary. And the first element of that medium-term strategy is to make sure the elections are free, fair, and that their credibility is obvious to everybody watching. Once you do that, then the belief that that I can make a difference comes back to citizens. But I think the other issue is apathy is a defeatist approach to elections, because you as a citizen, you are the base of democracy in any political system. And therefore, the correct attitude for citizens is to say, I as a citizen will make sure that my vote counts. So you convince your community, you convince your party members, let's all go and vote. When we vote, let's not go back home. Let's stay there to make sure things are followed. Then at the end of the voting, you stay there to make sure it's counted correctly, it's announced, the results are displayed as they are supposed to be, and all that. If you engage on that path of active citizenship, then you start changing the dynamics to ensure that although there are historically been problems, citizens themselves can be part of the solution in terms of changing the dynamics towards a more positive approach. And I think this whole notion of mandate protection, that there's a sense in which if the people all come out very clearly and say things must be done right, even if the political class is corrupt, they are going to think twice, because it means there could be consequences for them, there could be consequences for their ability to govern if this difference between the position of the people and the position of the elements organizing the elections are too divergent. So my sense is that what we have lacked in terms of our electoral culture is this civic education that citizens must become more active, more conscious, and for them to be active and conscious, they must also be knowledgeable about the electoral process so they know what procedure is right and what procedure is wrong. I think it was mentioned earlier, for example, that in some places people will come and say, no, we don't need to use beavers. But this is a legal obligation. It has to be used. It is part of the integrity tests of the electoral system, and therefore the citizen must be assertive that these procedures that are backed by law must be kept too strictly to ensure that everybody has confidence and that things are done correctly. So I think it's a big challenge that we are facing, but that I do believe if we take a more focused approach in terms of our civic education, we can begin to address in the medium term the question of voter apathy.
Earlier, when you spoke about the CDD report, you talked about money being a factor, vote buying, vote selling and all of that. How can that be handled? Because we've seen it take different shapes, different forms. It is evolving. right? It used to be when you vote, you show that you have voted. These days, I hear they find ways to do it electronically. And for Anambra, we hear that some candidates have even said before the election, there'll be a prize, towards, or if you like, polling units who vote him or vote his party. So how can we deal with that issue, vote buying?
Well, I think the first issue about vote buying is that it's an illegal act. And both the giver and the receiver are guilty of criminal activity. And that knowledge should be spread around. Secondly, that knowledge is not useful if the security agencies do not do their job in terms of arresting those engaged. Because what we've noticed is that these things are done openly. So it's not some big secret. If, therefore, you have security agencies deployed and illegal acts are going on and they do nothing, then it becomes a real problem because it means they are not rising up to their own responsibility. But, to come back to the point I was making about civic education, vote buying and selling is an indication that people believe their vote will not count. So this is what in political science we call the theory of the rational voter. The voter is an intelligent person. So if the voter calculates that their vote will count, then they are motivated to go and vote because they know there will be positive outcomes in terms of improved governance if the party and the candidate they think would improve things were to win, and they know that in that community that candidate is likely to win. So the motivation, therefore, is to go out, exercise their civic responsibility and vote. If, however, they have the belief that their vote won't count, then you make the calculation, well, if my vote won't count anyway, and somebody is offering me 2,000 naira or 5,000, the voter knows that that's just a meal for one day, so it's not solving their problems. But they then calculate that if this is the best I can get, let me get that so that at least I haven't wasted my day. So these are some of the issues we have not addressed in this country. What are the calculations citizens or voters make, and what are the actions we need to take to create confidence and the assurance that the process is being conducted correctly and that therefore people should feel confident enough to say, I'm ready to spend this Saturday spending 3 hours or 8 hours or whatever to exercise my mandate so that the governance in my state would be better for we, the citizens.
All right, Professor Jibrin Jibo Ibrahim of the CDD West Africa, well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
As we understand, you have to be somewhere else after this time.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much always for coming when we invite you. We'll pause here for a break, and when we return, the conversation continues, perhaps from Oka. Please don't go away.
The counsel of our fathers.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Are you ready?
Join us on Reshaping Democracy, a groundbreaking program on the network service of the NTA, where citizens get the chance to ask ministers, heads of ministerial departments, agencies, and other top government officials questions on their performance and delivery of mandates. With no sector of limits, conversations build around bridging communication gaps for feedback and effect as our guests engage with the people they serve.
How does ND foster partnerships with organizations, government agencies, NGOs, among others?
As our leaders give account to citizens' inquiries on good governance, tune in to Reshaping Democracy, a creative concept coming up every Tuesday evening at 10:05 p.m.
This is Reshaping Democracy.
Many thanks for staying with us. Of course, if you've just joined us, this is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And we've been discussing preparations for tomorrow's Anambra governorship election. Now, let me head back to Oka, where we have Madam Paula Iwenjora of INEC. And I'd like to ask, you've talked a lot about readiness. You've talked a lot about the plans to open at 8:30. And of course, the national chairman going around and giving assurances with the stick and carrot approach. But I ask, what are the guarantees, seeing that INEC relies on partners and vendors for a large part of its functionality? What are the guarantees that at 8:30 polls will open, for instance? What are the guarantees that beavers will function without delay when the voting begins?
Thank you very much. I heard all that the other participants are saying, yes, we work with partners, but I want to assure you, I have this confidence that with the new man who is, he made sure, he told them that there's going to be sanction, like the former voters education and publicity man has said. This time around, he told them there's going to be sanction, there's going to be consequences for not coming, or we'll pay you, you don't bring your vehicle, or you abandon us on that day. There are going to be consequences. So you know that most of this time it's been lip service. We say we don't arrest, we say we don't do anything, but not now, because somebody who is a son is on top of the matter. And so we're very hopeful. And there's something about this new sheriff. There's an atmosphere of confidence that we all have. Of course, don't forget the principle of one bad apple. He mentioned it. And any staff found compromising has gotten himself in a big mess. And so when laws are not kept, there are no consequences to it, people go on in impunity. So he's determined to clean up this image of INEC. And like one of the participants has said, voter apathy really in Anambra State, you know what has been the story here. So it's not really INEC per se, the community, the violence in the community has also propelled it. So I want to believe, that even the beavers, now for the first time, the staff of INEC, for the first time, are seeing, is on the news that if you are not attending, if you don't come out, you have consequences to this. So I don't believe when they heard that, with all the training that we have had, and then somebody will come and mess up the work that have been taking the national commissioner and the REC and the commission 1 year to go. It's a new dawn. I want to say to you, it's a new dawn completely. It's a new dawn. So the capacity training, building of the staff, it has been on and on, just ended on Wednesday. So everybody is on their toe. Everybody knows what is coming, He made it clear, the local government that will set us back, you have questions to answer. And so some of the electoral officers were running. What about the parade? The police knows how to do parade. I said, that one has ended. They've settled it. No parade on election day. No parade on election day. So that one is not going to happen. So that they will set out on time. So I don't know how else to explain it, but I believe that is a new season, a new dawn for INEC. Well, the prof talked about voter education, which is key. And if you heard the speech of a national chairman, yeah, you say he may be enthusiastic. He's a Nigerian that has been following the situation of this country. He's a Nigerian. He's not only enthusiastic or that he's passionate. He's a Nigerian. He has seen the lapses over the years in the commission with our partners, with the staff, or with the populace. He has seen it. And so he has brainstormed it. Voter apathy. He has told us that we will go it's no more status quo. You will go back with that civic education that we're leaving for others to do. We will get back to the primary, from primary to secondary to tertiary institute. We must clean up. We must educate others. We must tell them that we can have, even when it's knowledge, just like Professor Jubril said, it's knowledge. When you're convinced and convinced. For example, one of the mornings I took a cab to the hotel, and I asked the guy, "Are you ready for voting? How are you getting ready for Saturday?" And he said, "What you consign?" I said, "What do you mean by that? A young man." I said, "What do you mean by that?" I said, he doesn't know where I work. He said they've already chosen who they will be president, who will be their governor. I said, "Who chose?" They've not even. They said, "That's how." I said, "Now you're a young man, you're a youth. So do you think?" I said, and I'll give him an example. I said, I'm from the eastern part. I say, in your clan, or what they call Umona, in your clan, okay, somebody does something wrong, and so because of it, we won't come out for your family meeting, your family meeting to say your own. Because of one man or something that happened before, so you go back, you see when your clan, your kindred are making a decision. I said, no, if you stay back, that means you have failed. You need to come out and speak your mind again. As you keep coming out and speak your mind, other people will follow you. I said, so you should not stay back. INEC has a lot of work to do, yes. But also the people, the registrars also have a lot of education to be given to and understanding. When things go wrong, we don't sit back. We voice we speak our mind. And that's as the Yaga lady was talking, I was noting at some things. And some of these things we've been discussing in the office. We'll be discussing how to move to do it so that the registrants will believe on our integrity. The beavers are there, configured. The professionals that are there, they will attend to it. They will attend to it. When I say they will attend to it, I know they will attend to it. So I don't know what else to say, but I'm just assuring you, I believe in the system. I believe it's going to work right now. It's going to work this season. I truly believe.
Thank you, Madam Paula, for all that you have said. And I think that everything functioning tomorrow goes beyond belief. It's about doing the needful and ensuring that, everything actually works. You talked about, beavers and all of that. The ad hoc staff, have they been properly trained, to carry out their roles tomorrow? That's also another big question, because we've seen cases where, some of this ad hoc staff don't know what to do. Anyways, let's get to Cynthia as we begin to round up the conversation. Cynthia, you talked about security, and a lot of people are raising, concerns about, the security situation in Anambra. Well, some say not like in previous election. At the moment, the police says about 55,000 personnel have been deployed. The NSCDC has also deployed a number, and of course, other security agencies will be on ground. But do you think that the Agune Chamber security outfit, would interfere, with this process in any way? What have you seen? What is on ground at the moment?
Well, thank you so much for this question in particular because, there's been lots of concerns around the operations of the vigilante outfits, especially in some of the activities. Sometimes there's been reports of harassment and intimidation. However, the IG, Inspector General of Police, during the stakeholders meeting, had stated that the police is in charge of election security and that they would be working with sister security agencies and not the vigilante outfit, the Agune Chamber or Udogachi in the state. And so they do not have a role in the elections. The police they've also, in this week, there's been a lot of commitment from the police that they remain the lead election security agency when it comes to election security, and that the vigilantes, so the Udogachi, Agune Chamber, that they wouldn't be part of the elections process. And we want to see that play out. In fact, part of our Yaga Africa's recommendations from our statement yesterday was that from today, 24 hours, the elections, the structures of the vigilantes, because most times they have like checkpoints on the road and where they set up, should be dismantled so that the security outfit present in the state would take charge of the process. The police said 45,000. I know NNCDC and the other sister agencies will be present. Also, there's the military will be providing support for the on the roads where they provide security, and I know the Navy and the armed forces would also have their own support. INEC has ruled already that they'll be working with these agencies, and the Electoral Commission is clear that the 8 security agencies they recognize for elections is police and the other federal security agencies present, and not the vigilante operatives. So this is a call for the police to ensure that this is what is implemented, because we need to inspire, or we need a security deployment that inspires confidence in the process. But I wanted to say something about the civic and voter education, and I really appreciate Madam Paula's enthusiasm and passion. Just listening to her, I'm inspired, and I'm hoping that tomorrow this story, when we talk on NTA, the stories, the hope and aspiration is what we'll see reflected. But I do believe that our civic education must go beyond just the voting process. As a people, both civil society, media, government agencies, and anyone, that we begin to talk to Nigerians about the importance of democracy, that democracy is a real and apparent system that the people build and support. The democracies we celebrate in other parts of the world were built by the people. No aliens came to do that. It's citizens that show up and fight for their system. And one way to fight for your system is through the electoral process. Elections is one way. So coming out to vote is what determines if you're willing to choose the leaders that will lead you in the way that meets your needs as a people. And this is a passionate call to the people of Anambra and the Anambra that this election is for you. Coming out to vote is important, because at the end of the day, if only 10 people show up to vote, result to be declared. And so you have to come out and make your voices heard through the ballot. That is one. Secondly, when we say that system votes have already been decided, election, that's not how it works. Why? Because with things like the BVAS and the IREV, actually, you can actually follow the votes now. And if you say votes are not counting, then why are politicians buying votes? Because if votes were not counting, monies will not come to the polling units. I think voters need to understand that votes are counting now, but the votes that are counted are the votes that are bought or purchased. And so we need to change how we engage the system. System works when if people want to even manipulate the process, but if you're out there in your number, it's difficult for anyone to manipulate, because then you can provide oversight and that vigilance on the process. And so for me, it's always a call, especially to Nigerians, to younger people, that the process is yours. The funds spent on elections is spent because of you, the people. And so you need to come out in your numbers and vote, because it is difficult to manipulate elections when you turn out in your numbers. When there are lower turnout is when things can happen. But when you come out in mass, it makes it difficult for anyone to even want to interfere with the process. I always want to give an example with one community in Edo where there were thugs that came out, but because of the number of voters there, they chased these thugs. Even the INEC officials were laughing. Because there are sometimes you would come out and you see the number when two people want to come and interfere, when they see the number of voters willing to protect their votes, they can't create those kind of mayhem. And I want Nigerians, especially people in Anambra State, registered voters, their PVCs, understand that you need to show to cast your vote. The system works when you make after election at the polls. Democracy is everything outside them.
Cynthia, for your input. Let's get to Nick Dezang now. I mean, so much has been said. That's what always happens. I mean, before the election, we get to talk and all of that. But maybe before I ask the question that I want to ask, let's quickly take some of the comments that we have from our viewers. This one says, "Good morning, Nigeria. Integrity of all stakeholders in this process should be key to achieving satisfactory result. The logistics units, police, etc. are relevant tools to ensuring that INEC staffers deliver required outcomes." This one says, "Greetings to you all at NTA. Anambra governorship election is a big test for the new INEC chairman. There must be free, fair, and credible election tomorrow. There must be no violence at all, and politicians should caution their followers. Let people vote count. God bless Nigeria." Engineer Idris Adeniro sent that one. This one says, "One fact that should be looked closely at to avert reoccurrence is the low voter turnout in Anambra State governorship elections. Historically, voter turnout has been alarmingly low, with only 10.2% in 2021, 20.10% in 2017, and 25.5% in 2013. This trend is concerning and may indicate voter apathy, lack of trust in the electoral process, or ineffective voter mobilization. Addressing this issue is crucial to ensuring a more representative and credible election outcome." Another one says, "I appreciate Nick Dezang for being honest and sincere with election challenge. From experience, the paramilitary agencies are not paid their election duty allowance. The management always tell personnel that INEC will pay officers at the various duty posts, which is the polling units. Can Mr. Dezang tell us who is responsible for the payment of security personnel? Because most paramilitary officers who served during the 2023 general elections are yet to be paid their allowances till date." All right. This one says, well, didn't send a name. I don't know if the INEC official with us can respond. He says, "I need a polling unit in my village. Nwachi village in Anambra State. There is no polling unit there." Okay. So maybe Nick Dezang, you want to respond. Victor will read some of his messages, but maybe you quickly respond to some of the comments that have been made so far, as we round off, maybe as fast as possible.
Which specifically, because there are many. Let me say, in terms of voter turnout, it was not always like this in Anambra, because in 2007, for example, the voter turnout was 68%. So, but we have seen a sharp decline since 2007 to 10% in 2021. And one of the reasons for which we had this low voter turnout was the security situation. But in addition to the security situation, and from my interactions and the elections I was involved in Anambra, going back to that period, is that I think there is this feeling out there, particularly the last time I was there in 2021, which is that government does not seem to impact on the citizens. They don't feel, they don't get the dividends of democracy. And Anambra State being a largely commercial state, of course they have other attributes, but they are business people. So on that day, they just see it as a day to relax, to flex. So we need, like Cynthia has said, we need to really re-engage with voters. We need to re-engage with Nigerians. We need to make them believe, first of all, that their votes will count. And INEC also needs to carry itself in such a fashion that these votes count, thereby earning the confidence of voters. And then we need also to engage with the political class. Let the politicians appreciate that even in their own self-enlightened interest, that the democracy project can only work if you deliver dividends to Nigerians. There is therefore a correlation, there is a relationship between democracy and good governance. If you don't deliver good governance, people will not be incentivized to come out and vote. And by, people should not forget that there can be consequences that are also negative to people who perpetrate this. And we have seen these consequences in other jurisdictions. So to avert some of these things, we need to address ourselves and say, look, we need to address these concerns. We need to play our parts. The commission needs to play its own part. The political class needs to play its own part. And we also need to continue to educate Nigerians to appreciate the need for them to exercise their franchise. And for them to also appreciate that when you sell your vote, you are indirectly saying that you cannot hold whoever is governing you to account. And he will be entitled to assume that he has already bought your vote. He does not have to account to you. So these are the dangers, and we need to engage with Nigerians, particularly the youth who are despairing. They will go to school. At the end of the day, there will be no jobs for them. So, you know, there's this despair out there. And we need all of us to really work hard and address this.
Are there last-minute steps that INEC must take ahead of tomorrow's election in Anambra, from your experience?
Well, the thing to do is to keep INEC to keep its eye on the ball. You know, to make sure that these processes that it has initiated, and these processes are well known, that they go according to plan. You know, if the staff, the personnel are supposed to depart the wards at a particular time, they should do so. And make sure that if there are issues with allowances meant for the security personnel, that they are also paid in lieu of, or part of it is paid in lieu of their departing for election duty. So that we don't have a situation where at the end of the day people are complaining that they conducted election about 2 years after, previously, and up to now they have not been paid.
All right.
And these monies have been budgeted, they have been appropriated, they have been disbursed for these elections.
Okay. Many thanks, Nick. We need to round off. Madam Paula, I would like to hear your final words as we round off the conversation. What are the assurances to Nigerians?
Yes, if your vote doesn't count, why are they being bought? So we have to wise up. Let the citizens wise up. Let the registrants wise up. And I want to tell you, there is a new sheriff in town. We're going to get it right. Just believe that. You say you don't believe the processes. There are things now that's going to be happening. You will see. And like my national chairman says, he says, if the people themselves will engage, even as we're engaging, to do the right things, it will all happen. We'll all have a better election and a good democracy. Thank you.
Many thanks, Madam Paula. Cynthia, in 30 seconds, please. All right. Looks like we've lost connection with Cynthia there, but many thanks to Deputy Director of Voter Education, Mrs. Paula Inwenjora, for joining us, and we hope that all that you have said, we get to see it in reality tomorrow. Cynthia Mabalu, Director of Programs, Yaga Africa, thank you for being a part of the conversation. Nick Dazang, former Director of Voter Education and Publicity at INEC, thank you once again. We know you'll be with us tomorrow, of course, as we continue the conversation. Just to let you know that our studios will be open from this evening, Anambra decides, and of course it continues till tomorrow until the results are declared. I'm Ian Ray John, leave it on the NTA.
Victor, this is my name. We'll see you again on Monday.